Hello everyone, we are back with another video, and today we'll be reviewing a 9Q game facing a 10Q, and we will be reviewing for the 9Q who is black but lost to the 10Q. And we're going to be asking, why are we losing to someone who is lower ranked than us? So we should be the stronger player, so we should be winning, right? So why are we losing? And there's some couple interesting ideas that we're going to go over. So firstly, this video is sponsored by sumegodragon.com. For this week, you can get 50% off your first month using the code Congress24. This is because there is the Congress happening in the US, which is the Go Congress, which is the yearly big event. And for that, we have a code for them. Okay, so diving right into this game, when you're playing someone weaker than you, there's a couple ideas to consider. So first off, if you are higher ranked, that doesn't necessarily mean you're stronger than them at every aspect of the game. So usually in Go, we have several strengths and weaknesses. So for example, we have the opening, we have attacking, defending, invading, reducing, how we deal with invasions versus how we deal with reductions, Endgame, and then certain life and death patterns. Like for example, you have corner life and death, side life and death, sometimes center life and death. So Go has a lot of different aspects to it. So when you're higher ranked, what that usually means is that you are better at more things than the opponent is. But it doesn't necessarily mean your opponent isn't better than you at some things. So depending on what type of game happens, that can be a good insight into which aspects of your game are still falling a little bit behind. So it's actually quite good. If you lose to someone weaker than you can think, okay, what specifically am I missing? And then you can just go fix it. You can go tackle that. And then if you get all of your uh, all of your game to a specific level, then you're going to be higher ranked than that level. So, for example, if you're 9Q overall, but you get all of the tactics, all of the aspects of Go to 9Q, you're going to be like 7Q or 6Q because your game will just be so perfect for 9Q basics. So if you're 9Q, it means most of your skills are 9Q, but it's not all of the skills. That's the key. You have to figure out which ones are not 9Q and bring those up to 9Q. Um, in this game, I did see a little bit of a thing which we'll look into. Let's just go ahead and dive right in, actually. Let's just go ahead and dive right in and see how it goes. Typically, a common mistake that I see is either you're rushing the game or you are not taking advantage of your opponent's mistakes. I think this game was less taking advantage of the opponent's mistakes, though. But I wanted to mention it just because that is another common thing that you'll see is not taking advantage. So if that's one thing that you are doing, then that's something you can practice and work on. Okay, this is not the open side. We kind of want to go up top or on the left, probably. Okay, I love this little wedge. It's super easy to use until 5Q. Mm-hmm. Um, I'm not sure why Black kicked here. I know a lot of people have a tendency to just kick without thinking, so I hope that's not the case here. But if we wanted some sort of plan, my first instinct is to think about a pincer right here. And the shape that I'm imagining in my head is this one. You can see on the global aspect, it's actually quite a large plan. And on top, white is very flat. Everything's on the third line. There is a little bit of an issue between both of these being on the third line, so maybe I would go fourth line instead. So let's back off one and go fourth line. And then if they dive in, we simply can play a similar variation. And then maybe we want more thickness or whatever. It doesn't matter. We can play some sort of joseki that goes this direction. Excuse me. So I think this would be very nice to consider. I think it would be a very big and powerful position. It's also Clossi Approach style. You want to make a big position to attack your opponent with. So this one isn't necessarily bad, but it is a little bit one of those things that, like, it's played so often that I start thinking that my students are just playing it without thinking, which is bad. It's a bad habit, even if the move itself is good. This is a very odd spot. This one doesn't quite make sense to me. So first off, you owe a move up top, so you don't get surrounded. You don't want your corner to get surrounded. And then white is likely to make a base. This is the joseki. This is the variation for a reason. I'll show you guys a cool little thing while we're looking at this. A lot of players don't know that you can actually throw a stone in right here immediately, and then just sacrifice it. So this has pros and cons. One of the pros, or one of the cons, is actually you lose all of the aji, or the future weaknesses in this white position right here. You lose all of those weaknesses. But one of the pros is that your corner is now very solid, very strong, and that's a lot of cash. So it's kind of a trade. You say you will never be able to do anything to this group, but you're going to make sure that your corner is cash. So it's a little bit of a trick. It takes some good judgment calls, but it is something that is nice to know. So in addition to not wanting to get surrounded in the corner, you also want to pincer here. So if you want to pincer, it needs to be in their face. You need to keep your grip tight. My teacher used to say, when you're choking your opponent, your grip needs to be tight. Don't loosen your grip, because that lets them breathe. And when they can breathe, they can fight back. So you have to keep your grip tight. So this would be the way to keep the grip tight. Now, two stones can be a little bit strong, and they're also getting out very quickly. So a common pincer to these two stones specifically, typically after this, if your opponent does something else, you can actually pincer 2 spaces high. That is the proper one for this particular shape. But it's very important that you recognize that this is a specific example, a specific exception. Because these two being higher and a little bit stronger, you back off a little bit and respect the strength of these two stones, but also respecting their escape routes. So you're trying to get around them very quickly. But if you don't know that, a good starting point is just 1 space, third line. Take the base 1 space away and pincer them. I think it's very nice, very powerful. It's in their face. And it's really hard for white to deal with it. But typically, if you pincer this far, I can almost ignore it as white. It's so far away. It's almost not attacking. You still have 1 eye on the side. You still have the escape routes. So it's not nothing. It's not nothing. But it's not the strongest attack. So you got to keep in mind that your opponent might be able to ignore this move. And here, if your opponent goes to surround your corner, the best defense, this is something that you'll have to learn at single digit cube. This is probably like 5Q plus. Maybe even dawn level, I'm not sure, but like at least 5Q plus. The best way to defend yourself is to use the local aji, or to use your opponent's local weaknesses to survive faster, right? So you're going to use the weaknesses and the stones around you to survive faster. So the fact that these two stones didn't get their jump right here means we can bully them. So a simple sequence might look like this. And so black gets the corner, but you see how much stronger white is. It's a lot easier for white to play right here. There's many other ways this can go, but that's the theory. So typically we do want that jump. Okay, white chooses to go in. A little optimistic, but okay. This says you don't mind your opponent connecting. It's an interesting thought. Maybe it's okay. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. Okay, the typical follow-up, there's 2 options. There is A and there is B. I think a lot of people don't know that A exists. But if you go right here and white cuts right here, you actually Atari right here. Because if white extends and you connect, A and B is Miai, which means if white plays B, I will play A. If white plays A, I will play B. So white cannot do this. White has to capture. And now we go here, and you can see we actually keep the corner quite nicely. White typically doesn't connect. White will play something else. But if white did, then they would get a very ugly dumpling shape, and we would have a very strong corner. So this is a good way to have a very nice corner. I think it'd be easier for you to picture if it looks like this. That's how strong your corner is, because you don't have the cutting points as long as those two stones can be captured. So your corner's alive. It's quite strong. It doesn't have a lot of territory, but you also are alive, which is kind of the trade-off. And as a bonus, white is still eyeless, so it still has a future attack. So that's another way to play that one. Another, I think the more common one right now is to play B and just cut. I think that's the one a lot of people like to play. This one, the pro is you get a little bit more, but the consequence is that your opponent has some nice endgame here. So it's less territory overall. And you're also not getting as many eyes. So in my opinion, this one's like hit or miss. I kind of prefer A most of the time, but it is what it is. There's pros and cons to both. Just know that they exist. So you definitely could have played a little bit better just by knowing A and B. My first instinct here was to cut white. So if we look at something like this is my first instinct because we pincered these two stones with our stone here. So we would expect some sort of attack. So we could go for an attack right here, or we could play a little bit more solid like this. We could try to lean, which means to lean on the group in the corner. So maybe I can play something like this. And they try not to get surrounded, and now I have a little bit more strength, so that way I can attack white a little bit better. Maybe even go right here. So the idea is I lean on the stronger thing to get more stones to attack the weaker thing. It's a leaning attack is what it's called. So those are the many ways of playing here. I think this one is just going to be knowledge based. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, then the big thing is don't die, which I think black didn't die. So that's Clossi Approach, which is good. But if you know the variations, you could get more out of this. Okay, make a base. Very good. Yep. All basic so far. Okay, we're unsettling. I don't know if you need this move, but I don't hate it. But technically speaking, I think the goal is to surround right now. So we want to surround because it's on the fourth line, not the third line, and that makes a difference in the eye space. So if it's on the fourth line, you worry a little bit less about the eye space. This is actually the same shape as the corner. You want to jump. It's the exact same shape, actually. A lot of shapes in the middle game can be found in josekis or the corner patterns. Okay, make the eye space definitely is good defense, though. Okay. I like it. Very natural moves. We could potentially slide once more just to make sure we're super alive and then jump. And if our opponent jumps, then we actually do have a lot of follow-ups in the corner later. So that's not nothing. This is not nothing right here for black. So we could probably get that slide and just steal a little bit more before jumping, but it's fine. Not a huge deal. Okay, staying strong is very good. I don't like this Hane. This feels too much because I don't want to play here. I want to go play over here. I want to attack these two stones that white keeps ignoring. I want to punish, right? I want to punish these two stones. So the only reason I would be playing over here is if there's some sort of issue, which at a glance doesn't look like it. There might be some issues with this. The response here, though, is to go like that. I don't know if you know that or not, but if I'm going to respond because I'm worried about something, I want to respond with the least amount of moves possible because I don't want to be here. I want to be down here. So I'm going to respond with one move to fix everything so I can leave. I don't want to play here. I want to go play on the attack and defense position. Okay. I'm going to assume black is reading all of this. It looks like you read it perfectly. Very, very good. This is one thing that you'll be very good at compared to your opponent if you are outranking them, which is reading further than they do. So definitely take your time. Don't rush patterns. You can see further than they can. So as long as you are patient and double checking the variations, a lot of the times it'll feel like your opponent just walks down a deadly path. Like, why are they just walking off a cliff? And that is because you can see further than they can. So you're like, hey, there's a cliff right there, but they're wearing freaking sunglasses, looking at the sky, watching the birds, and they'll just walk right off the cliff because they're not seeing where their path is going to take them. They're not looking ahead far enough, and that is because they haven't developed that reading yet. So that is a very good way to take advantage of your opponent's position, is being patient for those chances and just double checking everything. Don't rush it, don't force it, but when it comes up, allow it. Let your opponent walk off that cliff. So I think that was perfect reading here. Okay, surrounding your opponent's good. Odd. So whenever you see an odd thing, just stick to basics. This is not the right move. This is because when white extends, you have 2 cutting points. But if you play this way, there's only 1 cutting point. And that is because this one is not a cutting point. It's a lie. If white plays right here, it is a ladder. There is no cut. There is no cut right there. So this one actually fixes everything. So just stay strong, watch your cutting points, and that's the answer here. This is possible, and you definitely get a lot for it. So it's definitely still a mistake for white. But do pay attention that even though you are getting all of this, which is valuable, white isn't getting nothing, right? White's getting a little bit of value too. So it actually reduces the value. I think it's still good for black, but it could have been better. Yeah, I like this. You got a ton of points on the bottom right. So at this point, black is definitely leading. Black is ahead by quite a bit. Okay, so as long as we respect that white controls the center and we play reduction, we are up on territory. That is the key to the key here. Just acknowledge that. Avoid a 2-space into a 2-space. A 2-space into a 2-space can lead to a nasty Tsuji or a tactic. If white plays right here and you try to connect, white can actually cross. So this cross cut actually has a couple issues. If we try to capture the stone, then white sacrifices it to cut us off. And if we capture the stone this way, we actually have some issues here as well. So this can be very problematic depending on the board situation. So when you have a 2-space, you go 1 space, 2 into 1, 1 into 2. Okay, don't go 2 into 2. 2 into 2 has a very nasty tactic there. Globally, I think we only need to reduce the center to win. So since that's our win condition, let's just plop a stone in there. I don't know. Just throw a stone in there and run away. We should win, right? As long as we're alive, we win. Maybe fix here and then go in. My thinking is there might be a potential attack in the future. So for example, if I place a stone right here and they chase me, maybe this stone can be attacked. This requires reading though. I don't think this is 9Q, unfortunately. I don't think it is. But if you could see that, you could fix that problem before it happens, and then they get 1 more move or whatever. And then you reduce, and now you don't have to worry about it happening. So defense before big move. So yeah, I think this one's just not necessary. Remember, we always have these variations in the corner. So as long as we have those, our group's pretty okay. We could actually attack white here by playing this move. And then maybe a cap. This would be a very nice attack on white's position. Or maybe we just simply play here to unsettle. And now white has this nasty little L group. And then we can use this weak group to reduce the center and sente. So maybe we do something like that. And now the center is getting destroyed while we are attacking. So this would be very, very powerful. Again, I don't think this is a 9Q, but it's just more cool ideas to think about. But the overall goal here is you have more territory. All you have to do is make sure this center becomes dame, and you win, right? Oh, in theory. So that's your win condition. So use tactics or strategies that go that direction. So this is quite a bit small. I think lots of small moves here. Okay, we did fix this right side, but you see how it took you 4 stones to do it, and I only spent 1 stone. That's efficiency. Less moves is more efficient. Okay, so again, we just need to reduce. Okay, I like this. Slowly getting it. We could definitely go faster than this, but sure. Okay. I think a lot of players struggle with this 2 space window 1 space, this double peep. The idea here is you can actually surround this very nicely like that, or even like this. I think this one's the more common one. So because we have that, that is a okay. Another common idea is when these cuts don't matter, and if they do, an emergency move is to go here. A lot of players don't know this move exists, but it's actually a double tiger's mouth. However, the consequence is there's a cutting point right here, which is very, very ugly. But in this particular case, maybe it's okay because if you save those, then boop, 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 boop. It's a ladder. But also white can play the Atari first and then run. But I think you can maybe squeeze these to connect. But you see how it's like getting very close to being super annoying. So it's an emergency move, but it's not the most optimal move. So I think connecting is our first instinct. We just have to watch the cutting points. Okay, so this is where your opponent played above a 9Q. So remember, your opponent's going to be good at something that you're not. Otherwise, you would be like several ranks stronger than them, like not just one rank. This is called a nose tsuji or a nose tactic. The nose takes advantage of low liberties on 2 stones or 3 stones. But because they're low liberties, you can play this little nose right here. And this has to do with the cutting points. So let's imagine the cutting points real quick. Let's say I go here to cut you, and then I sacrifice that stone to go here. Now I want to cut right here. Now if I go this way, you go that way. If I go this way, you go that way. Notice how 6 is the key move here. But if I play here and you try to surround me, there's an Atari here and an Atari here. So because there's a threat to capture on both sides, that is actually the key. And so at the higher levels, you actually play the last move first. And that's how you come up with these crazy looking weird moves, is you're actually reading a pattern or reading a variation and then just playing the last move first. So now if we play this and you try to connect, it'll actually look like this. And that's really, really annoying, right? So your opponent actually played probably like a 4Q level move. So this is quite a bit above their level. So this is just a really nice move. So the big key here is to not panic. I think just take a small loss and just survive with everything. So let's see what happens. If I recall correctly, all the corner stuff dies, which is unfortunate. And if you recall, remember what I said about the 2 space into a 2 space? This is exactly what I'm talking about. All these little tactics to cut you off. That's because it's very, very cuttable. Lots of scary things in here. I think the simple response is to go here. Because when they go here, you can just capture them. So they have to save themselves first. And then you can connect like that. The goal here is to connect all of our stuff, even if it's a little bit ugly. It's not easy to find this move, so I think this one is probably like 2Q or 1Q. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what Q players can see, but this one would be very hard to find. Another option would be to go here. My imagining in my head is this, with the idea being you can't really do much more to me here. I think white just dies. Because we can't cut right because that's a double Atari or a double threat. I think white just dies. So white can't do that. So white will probably do this. There. Here. And then this is a crane's nest. But that is a 20 move sequence. That's unreasonable. Let's see. I can't think of a simpler way to do it. I think this is the only simple answer. So your opponent just kind of outplayed you here. Yeah, sometimes it works like that. Here might be a good chance move, I think. So if I go right here and we play this out again. No, I'm wrong. I was thinking maybe you could try to get something, but there's nothing there. Yeah, this is unfortunate. Your opponent just outplayed you here. I don't think you did anything wrong, honestly. I think your opponent just played really well. The key move is still here. White made a mistake, I think, because there's a Tsuji right here, or a tactic right here. Let's see. If white goes here, 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 I can still go here because this would be a Salvatore or whatever, but I can still go here, which kind of doesn't change anything. White still dies. Um, hmm. So I think for white, the answer is probably going to be to go here. Um, then here. Maybe I would. I think as white, I would like check first, see if I can do something. Maybe I don't know. I would spend a lot of time here, and then if you cut me, then I can cut you back. I don't know. I would spend a lot of time to try to find the perfect order, but it's just it's all reading. This is just going to be a lot of reading. So in order to practice this sort of nose tactic, I think you would want to study squeeze type problems, squeeze shapes. So the squeeze Tsujis or squeeze problems is how you can get better at this. But honestly, I think your opponent just played really well here. So I wouldn't stress too much about this game. This feels like panicking. Definitely don't panic at a mistake. A mistake is only like 5 points or something. It's not that big of a deal. But if you, or maybe 5 to 10 points, it's not a huge deal. But if you play it out, you actually make it a 20-point mistake instead of a 5-point mistake. So if you play out the mistake, then you double the value of it. Because if it's just like this, all you've done is lose this chunk right here. But you still have all these forcing moves around it, which can reduce it. So you have here. Um, Depending on how the future goes, we might have this stuff. Like, it depends on how the future goes, right? But you have a lot of forcing moves, a lot of aji, or a lot of potential weaknesses to support anything that happens in this section of the board. But if you play it out, you lose all of that potential, all of that aji. Again, here, no, don't play it out. There's no need. Just save it for co-threats, save it for future stuff. But if you play it out, you actually increase the value usually by double. So if you just don't panic, stay calm. If you make a mistake, just be like, I'm going to get that back in endgame. You can make up one mistake in the middle game in endgame. If you're just really focused on Sente in the endgame, you can make up one mistake. It's fine. Not the end of the world. It's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Let's see. Looks like we started endgame in a good timing, but then you went here. If we just keep up the second line, Sente, 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 second line Sente, first line Sente, second line Sente, first line Sente, second line Sente, first line Sente. No, I don't know if this works. Second line Sente. Yeah, get all of this, and already you've caught up half the value of that. That's a lot of points. Every single one of these was like 2 points. So at minimum, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 moves. That's 10 points. 10 moves, 1 point a move. It's 10 points right there. Easy peasy. Do we check? Yeah. This is too many moves, but if you could read this far, it's actually cuttable. White has to go here, but then you go here, here, here. Yeah, so this is actually cuttable, but too much to read. I understand. It's fine. Don't die is more important. Yep, yep, yep. All good. This one's not needed. So I think the end game could be improved 10 points. Okay, you already your opponent here. I think it's good. You reduce the center. Yeah, I think overall looks pretty good. This one's Gote. Push, 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 push. This one was a misread. I think, because that's Gote, so you don't want it. If they go here, this is not a throw-in because this is a self Atari. Yeah, don't underestimate endgame. I think 9Q, if you master endgame, you can gain like 20, maybe 30 points on your opponent in the endgame. Very easily to make up one mistake. And also just having that like safety net of endgame means if you make a mistake, you're like, oh fudge, I made a mistake. Okay, it's fine. That's why I have my endgame skill. I can make up one mistake. There you read really well. The left side you read perfectly. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think the majority of the game was really good. It's just like one tactic to learn, and it's kind of how Go works, right? You only made what one mistake, right here. You made one mistake, and yeah, that can cost you a game. But at the end of the day, that's because you know like 30, 40 other things that you did correctly. So if you just work on one mistake at a time, one thing at a time, one shape at a time, you'll eventually get them all. So I wouldn't be too frustrated about this game. Your opponent just played a really, really good move. But if they could play a move that good every single time, they wouldn't be 10Q, right? So I wouldn't stress too much about losing to someone like only one rank weaker than you. I would say just try to learn what thing that you didn't know from that game. So if a 10Q can show you one weakness every time you play them, then play like 20 10Qs and then you'll learn 20 different things as long as you review the game. Learn 20 different shapes, and then probably you'll be able to beat 10Qs almost every time. Um, trying to think of what other advice I can give. Don't stress about these losses. I think here's a cool thing about playing someone weaker than you. You actually have control of the result, right? So it's actually more about a battle against yourself than it is about a battle against them. They are just going to throw things at you that is like 10Q or 9Q level, and it is your job to handle each one of those things as well as you can. Now, every so often, they'll throw something at you that's above both of your levels, and if that happens, it's no big deal. They just played really well. They had a good game. Everyone has good games. But for the most part, the overall win loss ratio being like 70% against 10Qs, I would say like I had a point, and I lost my point. I don't know, just don't stress about it. You control the game. If you master yourself, you'll master the game, right? With that being said, mastering yourself is technically impossible. You just do as best you can every single game. And don't like if you make a mistake, it's okay. You're human, right? And this is one thing that can translate to real life really, really well. Is I made a mistake, and you can get really frustrated at yourself, or you can take a breath and recognize that you're human and it's okay that you're making mistakes. You're just going to try to make a little bit less mistakes tomorrow. So you'll be a little bit more educated. And even then, you won't be educated in everything, right? So maybe you're good at, I don't know, cleaning the house, but maybe you're not so good at cleaning your car, right? So you made a mistake and then your car gets really nasty or something. And then you're like, well, crap, now I have to schedule a whole day or a whole section of time to clean out this big mess instead of, like taking in the trash out of your car every single day. I don't know, just all kinds of little things like this add up. We have so many little things in our life, just like with Go. There's so many things that we can learn about ourselves, and it's just a mastery of ourselves. So there's a phrase that if you can make your bed, you can do anything. If you make your bed every day, you can do anything. It's that self-discipline. If you're disciplined enough to make your bed in the morning, you can develop the discipline to do anything. So in Go, if you can accept one mistake or accept a loss and learn one thing from it, and then try to remember that thing next time, then you can master the game in theory. Because you just do that thousands of times, right? So don't ever let something like this stress you out. I think these are really, really great learning opportunities. And then as long as we learn something from them, and if you don't, then ask a question, right? Ask someone, join a Discord forum or something. Be like, hey, I don't understand how this happened. Can someone explain it to me? And then learn, right? That's how we learn. There was a pro that once said um, they loved it when their opponent played something they didn't know because that means they got to learn something new. So whenever the opponent caught them off guard or surprised them with something, they were excited because they got to learn something new when they reviewed the game. They would be able to learn something more about the game. And just that enjoyment of learning new things is kind of what makes you improve and go. Like the enjoyment of just forever learning. Um, because if you're like, I only get joy out of this game when I win, not gonna go super great. It's not gonna be the greatest of games for you to play. You probably need to go play a video game or a single player RPG. That is set up for you to win all the time. But Go is set up for you to lose more than half the time. So you have to find joy in the learning more than the winning. But I'll leave it at that. I've gone ranted long enough, but hopefully everyone found this video helpful. Remember the code Congress24 if you would like 50% off your first month on Mega Dragon. And SmegaDragon.com is a great place to do Go puzzles. So if you want to check that out, it'd be greatly appreciated. With that, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.